What's up, Internet? Welcome to Once Over. I'm Kaylee, and this is Cookie, and today we are giving the Once Over to Saw 3.
Suffering. You haven't seen anything yet.
There will be spoilers.
There will be spoilers. There will be spoilers. There will be spoilers.
I am so excited to have Cookie back joining me for the Saw series. We started it out, then life stuff got in both of our ways, which meant that we did not continue. But we are back, baby, and we are talking about all of the movies in the Saw series.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have not seen our first installments for Saw 1 and Saw 2, you should definitely go check those out. And today we are going to be talking all about Saw 3, which came out in 2006.
Mm-hmm. Good
Yeehaw.
Year. Yeah, I've only seen 2 of them in the theaters, and this is one of them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So I remember that you mentioned when it came to Saw 3 that you were like, what a great trilogy.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater, and at the end, spoilers, it like shows clips from all the other movies and kind of crescendos, and I was like, oh wow, they really ended this series on a solid note. Here we go, 2023, I'm watching Saw X in the theaters. I'm glad they didn't stop, but I don't know, I was so dumb at the time. I was a teenager, and I was like, They can't make another one. They killed off Jason. They can't make another one.
Yeah, never. This really does feel like the wrap-up of the films. And yeah. I think that it has a couple of really interesting and unique aspects to it. It focuses much more heavily on Amanda.
Yeah.
And her kind of tragic tale.
Yeah, her connection with Jigsaw and it's really weird but I guess she would be the closest to a protagonist that we have in this.
I would agree with you.
Like the main test subject, Jeff, he doesn't show up until like half an hour into the movie.
Yep.
I always forget how much like cleanup, for lack of a better term, there is at the beginning of this. But I love it.
You love it.
This is probably my favorite one.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's probably... I haven't watched through them all again since X came out.
Yeah.
But I think this is still my favorite one.
This is all right. Well, that means that we're going to be having some great discussion. I definitely have some questions about this one, so I am really excited to get into it. So we are going to start out right in the beginning of this. Now, you and I both watched the director's cut of this movie.
Yes.
You have seen the original theatrical cut quite a bit. I haven't seen that in a very long time. So we have a couple of bonus scenes, and we'll talk a little bit about the differences. But regardless of which version you're watching, it all starts out exactly the same, which is we are back in the bathroom, baby.
Oh, yeah. We get a lot of returning characters in this one.
Yes.
Like right off the back, we got Detective Eric Matthews. We got the titular Saw.
Yeah.
We've got the toilet. We got the poop heart. We got the tank that he killed Zepp with. Like, they're all back. They're all back. I don't know how they afforded all of them in the budget, but they're all back.
To get the toilet seat cover again. It was very much money. And this is, I think, a really good opening sequence. So the Saw movies, for me, are almost only as good as their opening sequence. And this functions really well because we are in this bathroom, our infamous bathroom, but everything is lit with a flashlight.
Yeah, it's really well done. It's almost video gamey, kind of.
It is almost video gamey, and I tend not to like the quick cuts that are infamously connected to Saw. But for me, this functioned well because I had that weird lighting in addition to that.
Okay, yeah, I can totally see that.
And I like that a lot. So we have Eric Matthews, like you mentioned, and he realizes that he is in this lovely, lovely bathroom, and he realizes that there is a leg just hanging out in there and a dead body just hanging out in there.
It's not looking good. Adam, it's not looking good.
No.
He's like blue.
I'm so sorry, buddy. I'm so sorry. He ends up finding the titular Saw.
He looks at it. He's also, I think they do that shot. I think they do that exact same thing in Spiral.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's like, oh, and then he's like, nah.
Well, we got to show off the Saw.
It is the titular Saw. We had to pay a lot of money
to get it back in the movie.
This is like the third one it's been in. It got the final kill.
Yep.
It's basically a final girl.
Yeah. It probably is the closest thing that we have to even above Amanda, actually. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's so stupid and so true. It's so stupid and so true. So he tries to use the saw, realizes that's not going to work, especially because he sees the leg, which has been hacked off. So he's like, okay, well, I know that this is not going to function in any way, shape, or form.
And it's been rusting for... Don't worry about how much time has passed. Don't worry about it.
I have a lot of timeline questions, but we'll get into that in future
They make
reviews.
even more.
Yes. So what does he end up doing?
He ends up using the top of the tank, which Adam used to kill Zep, to break his leg, or his foot, and slip out of the thing. Which I actually wonder if that is a response to, like, criticisms they got from the first movie. You know, people go, oh, if it was me, I would have just smashed my foot and got out of there. Or I would have done this, or I would have done that. So I wonder if part of that is them responding to kind of...
And that does make sense, because theoretically, if you break your foot enough, you can slide it through the restraints.
And it's going to bleed, I would think, a lot less than completely cutting it off. And
yeah.
it's
And it was
still
still
funky.
The other thing that was cool is it was still gross and gory. I mean, this really, truly was, despite the fact that we're not getting to see the saw do its job, it is a gnarly, gnarly scene.
I actually think that's the word I kept coming back to, is gnarly. This movie is very gnarly, even outside of the actual traps where you would expect most of it to be. Like, you know, later on, I think the surgery scene might be some of the, like, hardest stuff to sit through the entire franchise.
Oh, I agree. My toes were going like this the whole time. We will get into that scene.
It's like that Survivor gif where all the girls are like, and the guy's like...
So before we get into that excitement, we do get to be introduced to another reoccurring character, which of course is Detective Dina Meyer.
Yeah, I love Dina Meyer.
I know you do.
I wish this is where I start kind of, you know, booking these movies differently.
She is investigating yet another trap, and this trap is Troy's trap.
Mm-hmm. He's all chained up.
He was chained and pierced through his Achilles tendon and his mouth.
Through its mouth. I'm surprised you don't have one of those.
God. People really get that piercing. And you can really get an Achilles tendon piercing. However, I think it's something like 80% of the time, it makes it so you no longer can walk. I believe that is the most dangerous piercing that you can get.
It's like...
Don't do that.
Let's pet cemetery ourselves. Yeah. Good decision.
Yep. Very, very bad. Okay, so... The other thing about this crazy piercing trap that I thought was really interesting is the tendons. So having the piercings through the Achilles tendon. Now, this movie came out in 2006, which was 1 year after Hostel came out. Oh. Do you remember the horrifying Achilles tendon scene in Hostel?
I only remember the horrifying eye scene in Hostel.
There's a oh, fuck, was it in Hostel too? And now I'm remembering this whole thing wrong and just realizing that right. There's a horrifying Achilles tendon scene in one of the Hostel movies.
I believe you.
And when I saw this, when I re-saw this...
It's in the bathroom at the end, right?
I think so.
Okay, then I think that is in the first one.
Okay, so this Achilles tendon scene came out right after that? That was just the thing in the early 2000s, apparently.
They were all...
Was fuck with Achilles tendons. So he has to basically rip the piercings out.
Yeah. Like they're all like throughout like the kind of the pecs and the legs and the arms and everything. They definitely suck, and you're definitely going to have a lot of long-term damage. But as far as like some of the other traps, I think it's definitely doable.
Yes.
And he definitely seems like a tough guy. Like he's just like, he has like no problem.
Yeah, he's ripping them. The ones that are coming out of his arms look very natural, for lack of better term. So, which one do you think would be the worst to pull? Do you think
it's the mouth?
Yeah,
one,
mouth
100%. Like I don't know how you would get it out without like splitting all of
taking your mandible out.
Making like a predator jaw.
Ugh. But again, possible. I agree. This is a survivable trap. However, he does not survive. He does not get free before the bomb goes off.
Well, he does and he doesn't, right? Like this is where the first hint of like, wait, yes, because they had to
break down
the door, and that's Dina Meyer's thing. Like, well, why did you have to break down the door?
So Dina Myers realizes she goes, oh, wait, this trap does not make any sense for a Jigsaw trap. Jigsaw wants people to be able to survive. This trap was not survivable because even if he had been able to free himself, he would not have been able to get out the door because the door was soldered shut or something.
Yes.
So now we realize that there must be an accomplice.
Da-da. Who could it possibly be?
Nobody can ever guess these things. I was talking with somebody about all the Saw movies, and they were like, are you Saw smart? Like, can you figure out what is going to happen in the Saw movies? Like, is that the type of intelligence that you have? I was like, that's a really good phrase.
It's like
are
street
you Saw smart?
Street smart, but Saw smart. Yeah. Can you see all the twists and turns coming? No, nobody can.
So something that you and I haven't really talked too much about, I think very briefly when we were talking about Saw 2, is the posters for these movies. And that was one of the most memorable things for me when these movies were coming out. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, those are the posters. Holy crap. So you have the initial Saw poster, which has the leg on it.
Yeah.
And it's gnarly, and it's black and gray, and yet it doesn't feel black and gray somehow. It's
kind of like a little bit
color
of a green
grading,
tinge to it, maybe.
And then on the second one, you get the two fingers.
You get the two fingers.
You get the chopped off, and that makes sense because we're telling you that it's Saw 2. And here we get 3 hanging teeth.
Yeah. It's a cool image.
It is.
I don't I mean, as they go on, they get insane. Like, here, put the picture of the giant statue of Jigsaw for like 7.
Where did the teeth come in this movie?
The pigs? The pigs probably... Pigs can't digest teeth. So...
That's a little bit of a stretch. I would like there... Okay, so when I see teeth on the cover of a movie that is a Saw movie, I expect there to be some sort of dental trap. I expect there to be something where I have to rip my teeth out, right? That's kind of what I was anticipating.
Oh, I never really did that. That'd be a good one.
Yeah, writing your own Saw traps. So I really struggled with that actually when this movie came out, because I remember when this came out in 2006, and I was like I don't understand why that is the poster art. But Cookie and I decided to go one step farther because the teeth make absolutely no sense. So as you guys learned in one of our previous installments, I am a collector of weird things, including foot skin and other such items. So
human leavings.
Yes. So Cookie recently had some dental work done, and as a part of that dental work, he had, for a brief period of time, a plastic tooth. And I requested to have this plastic tooth when he was done with it, because I figured he would no longer need it. And most people don't want to save things like that unless you are me, in which case I do. So Cookie, wonderfully, kindly, thank you again, gifted me his tooth. At some point, I will probably frame it and put it into a big, beautiful art piece. But for the time being, since we can't really make any sense of the teeth, we thought that we would challenge you guys to make some sense of the teeth and find Cookie's hidden tooth, which is somewhere in our video today. So if you can find that hidden tooth, I implore you to let us know where it is in the comments down below.
It's not here.
No, it's none of the teeth that are in our mouths. It is not in either of our mouths. That also reminds me, though, that while you are leaving a comment about where you think the hidden tooth is, you should absolutely like and subscribe if you have not already. So thank you for doing those things.
Maybe hit the bell.
Yeah.
Maybe just hit that bell.
You should be doing this, not me. Jeez Louise.
There's always like this obsessive cop throughout all of these movies. You know, it's Tap.
She becomes the Tap character.
She becomes
completely obsessive. She's watching all these videos, trying to figure it out. She can't stop herself. And as she is watching these videos at home,
before we get to the videos, it goes to her apartment, which is a crappy Saw City apartment. Like, just everything's terrible. She's in the bath trying to relax, and we hear nu metal and I think sex sounds coming from the neighbors, like through the wall. Like, nu metal is so strong in Saw City that it's just like comes through your walls.
You love new metal. I'm convinced.
You're kind of convincing me at this point. I think I do. I just like Saw.
So after she gets out of the bath, she's in the bedroom, and she's like just fixated on her TV. She can't focus on anything else. And so she's watching these videos, and
she's watching the videos, and she starts seeing herself on the, like, it's actually kind of creepy. Like, she's watching these tapes, she's kind of going through them, and then it's her bedroom, her watching the TV, and then she goes and she finds it, like, the actual camera in the closet and everything like that.
So I have a question about that. Mm-hmm. How do you switch from it being a VHS tape or whatever tape she's watching to a live feed?
Probably like an aux splitter or something like that.
Who did that,
like
though?
Maybe a really long cable, and he just like flipped the switch, or you know those old ones where you push the button to do the inputs. No.
That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't matter. She goes into the closet. She does what every good cop does, with shoot first. Shoot first, ask questions later. But nobody is in the closet. Instead, behind her comes Pig Mask.
And that sequence reminded me a bit of The Game, the David Fincher movie.
Oh, yeah.
There's a part with, like, he finds a clown, and he brings the clown in, and then he realizes, like, oh, it's got a camera, it's looking at me, and it's projecting to my TV. So that kind of reminded me a bit of that.
And another thing that I think, is very important to mention within the Saw franchise as a whole is obviously we're constantly hat tipping to previous movies. So there's a big hat tip to the second movie with the idea of the live feed.
Yeah.
We have to have that live feed, little teeny tiny homage. So now that Dina Myers is captured, she is hooked up to one of, I think, the craziest devices.
I think it's really cool, and they don't really talk about it, but like the angel wings thing that it does, it's actually like an old school like torture murder thing.
Oh.
I found that out just by like looking at, and like it's very like, we aren't sure if anyone actually successfully did it like to completion, but they would try to do it.
Now that's interesting.
So it's kind of, I'm thinking about that now.
But it can't be an angel.
Oh, no? Well, if you're so sure what it ain't, how about telling us what it am?
Yeah, it's like a
hooked into her
kind of thing here.
Hooked into her rib cage.
Yeah, and she's got like a collar around her neck that's locked, and then there's a jar of acid, kind of like right in front of her there, or it's like a beaker or graduated cylinder or something. Like
and
that.
There's a key inside of it.
The key drops.
Yes.
And it like.
And
there's lots of acid in Saw. This might be the first one where it's like.
It's a nice little sizzle.
It's got a nice little sizzle to it.
So basically, she needs to get the key out of this acid in order to save herself.
Mm-hmm. She's got to reach right in.
I don't understand why she didn't just spill the acid.
I think that every time, especially because it has the like pour thing and it's away from her.
Yeah.
She does kind of like do this, and it like doesn't jostle that much, so maybe just doesn't move.
But couldn't you just hit the bottom of it and get the liquid to come?
Then the key's jumping around, and it deforms.
I guess if the key fell on the floor, that would be a nightmare also. Okay, all right. Maybe we give her a little bit more credit.
Look, if this is Dina Meyer we're talking about, all right? Like, I do like that she's like, okay, I know Jigsaw. I know how this works. I just got to go right in there. I think she does a little bit of like, at first and pulls it back out. But she gets in there. She gets the key. She gets it in the lock. She turns it. And like nothing happens. Yeah. She's like, and then it just rips out all of her ribs into this kind of angel-like thing.
You mean like an angel?
Well, obviously that's impossible.
Lisa's right, it's an angel!
Casts her in this light from behind. It looks really good. And then we see our mysterious apprentice with her mysterious exposed midriff, or their exposed midriff. Their exposed midriff. Who could it possibly be?
No idea.
It might be Jigsaw. He might have been doing Pilates and everything.
as with all Saw movies, we jump around a lot. And a lot of the jumping that we do is through panning shots. So we'll kind of pan from one scene into the next. So from this Dina Meyer kill scene, which I am devastated by, I would have liked to see an entire film dedicated to her.
That's my big thing. I'll probably mention it 500 times during the Saw 4 review.
Yeah.
I wish she was the main character of Saw 4.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a lot more compelling.
It's devastating to lose her as a character. And as a spoiler, we do get a lot of characters who come back in this series. As a spoiler to the series, she does not come back. And not even in flashbacks, which is unfortunate.
She does.
Oh,
I think
doesn't.
well, no, I think she gets. They show like all the cops that have died at a certain point, and I think she gets a paycheck.
Photograph.
I think she gets a paycheck photograph.
Yeah, that's
which is one of my favorite things in movies. I do not want to be an actor. Yeah. But one of my dreams is to be in a movie and then get a paycheck for my picture being in the sequel. I think that's the coolest thing ever. You would
frame that paycheck.
It's money. It's free money.
It's a really weird dream.
I know.
Shoot for the stars, Cookie. Shoot for the stars. So we pan into this next scene. And the next scene is a man and a woman talking. And he wants a divorce, and she works in a hospital.
I actually really like this scene. I think it's really well done in like a drama way. Like as soon as you're dropped in the scene, you can just feel the tension between these two characters.
Yes.
And like, he wants to talk, she does not. Oh, I gotta go to work. I thought you didn't work for 2 hours. Like all the classic kind of like lying partner kind of stuff.
It has a very similar feel to Saw 1 for me, and the character of your favorite character, Larry Dr. Gordon.
And this is Dr. Lynn.
Yes.
Larry, Lynn, both doctors at the same hospital, we find out.
Whoa.
There's probably only one hospital in Saw City.
I think that you're probably right. Doesn't seem very vast. They keep going back to the same place as that damn bathroom. Lynn's character is very well developed. She goes to take what we assume is anti-anxiety medication, and she decides not to take it. Yeah. We can tell that she is going through struggles.
She's going through it. The guy, she's like, "What do you want from me?" And the guy's like, "I want a divorce."
Yeah.
It's like, what? Lynn actually has a really good scene where she is like out of it at the hospital. She's kind of lost in her own personal things. There's a kid that comes in that needs some trauma attention. She needs to do some MASH triage on him. And there's this nurse that has like one scene, and she's amazing. She's like,
if you got something on your mind, go upstairs to psych. Just don't bring it in here. We don't have any seconds to spare, Lynn.
It sets up Lynn as like, okay, she kind of, I don't know, not past her prime, but she's in a slump. And yeah, it's just a really well acted scene. We go into she goes in the locker room.
Yep.
She's like the anti-anxieties you said. There's something in her locker, and there's something in there, and this is a big motif.
Go on.
There is a drawing in the locker of a pig. The little kid drew a pig.
I do think that you're right that the pig motif is very important. Obviously,
in
because
this
we have
one
pig
specifically,
mask.
It's very strong.
Yeah.
It doesn't really answer anything,
yeah.
But it does pull that element in and use it to great effect. There's quite a few pig moments in this. They went whole hog. They went ham. Pigs all over this thing.
We're not friends anymore.
Get out of my house!
So after we get to see this lovely pig drawing, that's when pig mask comes
Pig
up.
drawing, pig mask.
Whoa, double pig and...
Double pigs. 2 pigs, 1 scene.
2 pigs, 1 cow.
I'm sorry I ruined the Saw discussions.
Your expertise in Saw is what I rely on so heavily. I love it.
Yeah, you would never notice pig
I would
drawings.
never notice that.
Nobody but me could notice these pictures.
So we're taken into a dungeon where there are multiple pig masks, and Lynn is tied up.
It's actually like a really cool lair.
Yeah.
Like they bring it back a little bit in some of the other movies, but I wish we got more of this. It's really cool. later on, there's a whole wall of like stuff to murder people with.
Yeah.
There's, as far as I can tell, there's the chainsaw directly from the Pieces like poster.
Oh yeah.
And there is also there's a mannequin that has the name Paul printed on it. I don't know. It's given very prominent like display in one of the scenes. They just kind of walk by it, but I'm like, why
is Paul ever a character? Was there ever a guy who got trapped by that was
maybe one of those SWAT team members, and the second one was named Paul? I don't know. It was just interesting. Probably the same as the like 9/11 sticker on the cell phone in the first one. It's just,
yeah.
It had Paul written on it, so we just pulled it out of storage and we put it over there.
That's great. So this is when Amanda first shows face. She already showed midriff, but now she shows face.
They don't show face and midriff at the same time, so you can't put the pieces together. This is very intellectual filmmaking.
And then we get into the exposition. So now we're about to do a bunch of exposition, which is when Jigsaw is not doing great, and it turns out he was a patient in Lynn's hospital, and we get all the backstory.
There is one tiny thing that I love. So Amanda comes in. She's like full of piss and vinegar in this movie.
She is.
She is just like on it, and she's just quippy and not taking any of Lynn's shit.
Come here. Now, let me ask you something. Oh, God! Did I bring John to you? Or did I bring your self-centered ass to him?
There's a moment when she's like, Lynn's like stuck in this wheelchair, and she kind of wheels her in, and she does this thing where she like rides the wheelchair for a split second, like how you can like, ride a shopping cart when you get it going fast enough. It's like, she's so cool. I like John's little hospital room. There's all these like little Buddha guys, like just kind of scattered around, these little figures. I guess Tobin Bell stole one of them, which is fun.
From where?
From the set.
Oh, I thought you meant he stole it and put it on the set. Like, I thought that you meant like he stole it from a store and then brought it to set, and like he was like, that one's mine.
They didn't pay him that well for Saw 2, I guess.
They had to give all the money to the Saw.
He's like, I'm playing second fiddle with Saw. It's like Homer and the rod.
Poor Tobin Bell.
But I love how much Amanda dotes on John in these scenes. Every scene, she's kind of touching his head, patting him down. Very tender. Especially, it's a nice, I don't know, primer compared to what we get later on when she's like losing her mind and flipping out. It's nice to see these like soft, quiet moments.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And again, this movie builds their relationship in massive ways.
Yes.
So it is important that we talk about stuff like that. So you mentioned to me before you and I started doing this review that there is a deleted scene that is not in the director's cut either. And you sent me this scene. And it is pretty darn cool. So I'm going to play a little bit of the scene here.
Very rock star. Sorry, your hair. It's very rock star. I like it.
So I've been looking for the director's cut for a long time. It has been stuck on out-of-print DVDs in the US and out-of-print Blu-rays in Europe. While looking for that, my one friend found a Saw supercut that is like 8 hours long and combines all of the movies into one like 8-hour thing. They said they only used like 15 minutes of the 7th movie, which is... I really want to know what 15 minutes, but we can get into that later. But it said... Also, I added in the rock star scene because I love it so much. And I was like, oh,
rock star
scene? Where's a rock star in this fucking movie? And it goes back. I think this is peak bad wig. I think this is the Saw 2 bad wig in this scene. And Amanda's going into an apartment building. I'm not exactly sure where this would fall. I think
Amanda appears to live there.
It seems like she lives in the same building as Adam from the first movie.
What?
He's coming down the stairs and like kind of starts like hitting on her.
He's like, "Hey, rock star."
Oh, you look like a rock star with that haircut. Hey, want to come to my friend's show tonight? Hey.
Speaking of Rockstar, I've been instructed to give these out. My buddy's band. They don't completely suck as far as buddy bands go.
And he's like, then he turns to these other ladies that come in. He's like, ladies, hey.
I'll see you later. Ladies, how are you? You guys want to come see a show? Come on, $5. That's reasonable. They'll be there. Trust me.
It's like, I don't know if she lives there or if that is her going to go up into the closet to capture him. I don't.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. What means is that they have an interaction. He takes her picture because don't forget he's the photographer.
Does take her picture.
I'll see you there. You know what? I'm not going to see you there, am I?
Probably not.
Can I take your picture? Hold right.
And I think that this scene is so super duper important to the Soniverse. I don't know how to make words work.
Soniverse.
Yeah. Regardless of what it is, that is so interesting to have them have that interaction. I'm devastated that ended up on the cutting room floor.
I think the reason it did is that I don't think his acting is super great in that scene.
Well,
I think he was very excited to be back on a Saw set.
Yes.
And just went full like, hi everybody, hey, you're a rock star, hey baby, hey. And it's like, it's not really the Adam that we've seen. Even when he's like, seems to be in a good mood, he's like
not like that, yeah.
He's like going up the stairs into his apartment, he checks his empty fridge.
I liked that scene. I would have preferred to keep it in.
I think it would have been nice to see, although I
with all the backfill, with all the damn backfill, you couldn't have given me that
their backfill.
One more piece of backfill that I thought was actually really dang cool.
Yeah, and it's not like you got to pay him that much more. You already got him.
Yeah, he already did the work.
He's already did the work. He's already getting strangled in that one scene. He's a backwards talking ghost in the other. So I don't know why they didn't include that one.
Garbage.
Malarkey. They're idiots.
Malarkey.
Because they're dum-dums.
And I will say, okay, so I think that the character of Amanda in this film is by far the most interesting that character becomes. I think that she has a very important story arc relating to her femininity, and I think that she is far more tragic here than she has ever been. She really is, we will learn, manipulated in many ways.
Yeah.
And that is really interesting. But in
even
addition
more than
to that,
we know at this point. There's actually, in some of the sequels, they love their backfilling.
They do.
They backfill some of this, and I think I can't watch it without that information in my head, and it just makes it all the more tragic.
Yeah, I completely understand that. And in addition to that, I think that this is the most stunningly gorgeous that Shawnee Smith looks.
I was trying to avoid this, but like she looks gorgeous and Lynn looks gorgeous, and there's just all these like even in this like nasty green rust buildings, like they just look so pretty. They're so pretty. They got this long hair, no wig to be found in any of these scenes. She's just got this long, beautiful, flowing hair.
In any of these scenes.
There's actually like 5 wigs in this movie. It's multiplied.
No, she looks stunningly gorgeous. She does an incredible job acting in this film. I absolutely love her character through and through.
Absolutely.
And I think that you're right. Piss and vinegar is the right way to describe her. She is crotchety.
She's crotchety. She's unstable, but she's like, she loves him. Like it's very weird. I love their like mentor kind of relationship and like, you know, father figure.
Well, and we do get to see that a lot because Jigsaw actually at one point even criticizes Amanda's bedside manner. She's like, he's like, be nice to our guest, basically. And so they start kind of talking about the fact that there is no cure for Jigsaw's disease.
Yeah, Lynn keeps using these like high-tech medical jargon.
Yeah, Jigsaw basically calls her out for her bedside manner.
Yeah.
So basically, Jigsaw just hates how women talk.
Well, you know what? He did kind of have the same criticism of Larry.
Yes, he sure did.
Maybe he's just really on bedside manner. That's really the undercurrent of all of these movies, is he just cares about your bedside manner. You know, with Eric Matthews, it's like, you should serve and protect. You should be nice to people, not frame them for crimes.
Yeah, Jigsaw thinks that he is teaching lessons, and he thinks that he is making the world a better place, and so that is important to his character.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I like so much about this series is, and like, I don't know how much of it is intended, but like, they really play with, is he doing anything?
Yeah.
Is he having any effect? Is he changing anyone's heart?
I would like to see, and I haven't seen the most recent of the series, so maybe don't spoil anything, but if I'm onto something, did they ever do a movie where it's somebody who survived one of the other traps and it's their life afterwards? And they're actually improved or not improved. I would like to see a drama film of that. Like a straight up drama, not Amanda's. Yeah. I mean, we kind of get that with Amanda, obviously. Yeah. But I would like to see a straight up drama of, this is my life after Jigsaw.
There is...
We should call it Life After Jigsaw.
Life After Jigsaw. There are elements in that in one of the movies.
Okay.
But yeah, I love that too. It's actually one of my favorite parts, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. The first, half of that movie, maybe a little less, is just the characters dealing with the fallout from the first movie. Yeah. One's all scarred up, and now they're, weird stepsisters, and she's in all sorts of therapy and all messed up. I would love to see a horror sequel without any of the actual horror elements that are just a drama. I think that would be a very interesting
And I think that this
story.
is the right franchise for that. So Lynn also, in addition to being, tied down, she has a collar. Amanda puts her in this collar, and it has these shotgun shells that Amanda arms.
Yeah, it's really nasty, ka-choosh, ka-choosh, ka-choosh. The sound design on it is great.
Yes, I would agree with that entirely. And we find out that this device is effectively hooked up to Jigsaw's heart monitor. So Lynn's entire purpose is that she must keep Jigsaw alive. If Jigsaw dies, this device will go off and she will die. Now, I have a huge problem with this device.
Okay. It's too cool.
It's too cool. I am not the smartest when it comes to guns or technology.
Okay.
However, I believe that those little hammers that she cocks backwards, if you just put a piece of cardboard in there, it wouldn't go off.
I think that's probably accurate.
So, this is the most survivable, but at the same time, it's also the least survivable because Jigsaw has to die at some point. Now, there's some caveat about as long as, in some way she can get out of this. I don't even remember the details of it, I'm sure.
Well, it's at one point she tries to get out of it, and Amanda says, A, that she made it.
Yep.
And B, that if you knock it anywhere in the wrong way, it could go off. Then there's also maybe a sensor somewhere that if she tries to leave
she can't get far enough away from.
We never actually see the sensor, and it could just be a bluff. I don't know. We see more of this building through some of the other sequels. And I don't think the sensor's real. I think it's just more her doing Jedi mind tricks to Lynn.
I did not like that trap. Only because it looks cool.
I get it.
It looks cool, and it's reminiscent of Amanda's trap. It's very, very cool. It's very reminiscent of the reverse bear trap. It has that same kind of feel to it, where I still have some mobility. However, I'm in this contraption around my face. My issue is just that I really think that if she had just put a little cardboard in there.
You know what? She couldn't find any.
There was stuff everywhere, Cookie. There was stuff literally everywhere.
No cardboard, though. Jigsaw is very big into recycling. He gets the recycling out. He makes Amanda get the recycling out every other week.
This isn't Serial Mom.
Oh, I have told her and told her. It takes 90 to 100 years for a tin can to decompose, and she still won't recycle.
That, of course, leads us into another trap. is where
I'm
we're
just
going.
imagining Jigsaw putting the lady that doesn't recycle in the truck.
You will never forget to recycle ever again.
The garbage men are just like nodding.
Yeah.
Damn, that's good stuff.
Trash compactor, which trash compactor is the answer to that, which we will get into trash compactor.
I was like, they should do that.
Movie. We will get into trash compactor.
Spoilers.
Saw trap. Yeah, spoilers for a future review. Regardless, after we find out all of this about Lynn and we kind of get their little area, we flash to another scene, which is another trap. It is a guy in a box.
Seeing a guy in the box. This is going to be our main player, Jeff.
Yep.
Doesn't show up for a half hour.
Yep.
Which, whatever, that's fine. Saw 3.
Yep. And he gets a tape player. He doesn't get a video because obviously he's in a box.
It'd be hard to see.
It would be very hard to see. And he is told that he is going to have to do a series of tests, which are going to lead him to confronting the drunk driver that killed his kid.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he's going to come face to face with the person that took his child.
Yes. I hate the annoying cut jumpy shots in this so much. It reminded me so much of the, what is it in 1, when we have the barbed wire kill and you're just everywhere. I can't deal with that in the Saw series. Like, I understand that is a trope of the franchise and that it is important to it and that it reminds us that we're watching a Saw movie, but oh my God, I could do without it.
I get it. I've said this 1,000 times on things. Usually I would hate that. In this, I like it. It's a Saw trope. I like Saw, so I like it.
Yeah. Then we get another flashback, which is, again, another Saw trope. We get a flashback to Jeff doing, like, the Travis Bickle.
I was going to say, Jeff Bickle, yeah.
I'm your fucking teacher, you motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? You come on.
Yeah.
And then he randomly goes like, drunk.
And oh, go ahead.
He looks bloated. He's got like 6 o'clock shadow, and he's in his bathrobe. Love him.
Yes.
I love Jeff.
I do too. However, this scene drove me insane again. Now, you mentioned the sound design being great earlier when we hear the clicking of Amanda setting Lynn's trap.
Yeah.
The sound design in this scene was so fucking annoying because, again, he's doing the taxi driver. He's doing the, I'm gonna pretend like I'm doing the things.
I'm gonna kill you.
And you just hear the same gun cocking noise again and again and again and again. And I feel like at this point in the movie, I had heard that noise 20 times.
That's totally fair. I took that to mean to show how often he's doing this.
Yeah. I did too. I just didn't like watching
I totally
or
get that.
hearing it.
I actually, he's doing that, and then he's like, wait, where is this? He's clearly missing something. He goes into his daughter's room, and he's like tearing through stuff. He's yelling at her. She's in bed sleeping, and he's like, where is it? Where is it? I told you not to go to his room. And she has a stuffed pig. He's like, he takes stuff. He's like, I told you not to take anything from his room. And, like, it's so tragic because she's clearly trying to process the loss of her brother, Jeff's son.
Yeah.
And that's why Jeff's all messed up. That's why and Jeff is, like, he's literally denying her grief.
Yeah.
And, like, any way to kind of move forward, you know? She just wanted to take her brother's stuffed pig. We find out. To be comforted, to be close to him. Like, that's totally reasonable, especially for a kid. And he takes it back. He's like, no! Yeah. Don't go in there.
And this, in a very small moment of this film, discusses the gravity of grief in a really interesting way. A parent grieving and a sibling grieving, or a child grieving in this case, those are two very separate things. And it exemplifies how shitty of a dad he is here.
Yeah.
Because we are getting to see that he is prioritizing his grief over his daughter's grief.
It does really well. I've seen people like, you know, oh, the bad guy in this movie, you know, killed 5 people, and the bad guy in this one said his son died. It's like, that's a little bit of a gross under-exaggeration of what's going on here. He is losing it. He's tearing his whole family apart. He is he like his daughter is gonna be messed up.
Yeah.
Like if this keeps going on. And then there's a part where afterwards he's sitting on the side of a bed, and the daughter comes in, and she says, "I got to get myself ready for school." Like she's doing
the things herself.
She's doing that stuff for herself, and then she apologizes. Like, "I'm sorry I upset you, Dad," which is a very like alcoholic parent kind of thing. You didn't do anything wrong, but they yelled, so I've now learned that I have to apologize for this adult actions. And Jeff has this kind of quieter moment. He's like, I love you and all that, and she walks away, and he moves like a little blanket, and there's a gun there. And I don't know, maybe this is just my mind running wild, but at least for me, I feel like it hints at like a potential murder-suicide on the horizon.
I thought that he was... I definitely agree. To me, that seeing that gun was he's about to kill himself. I didn't think about murder-suicide. And you're totally right that could have been it. However, I think he was too heartbroken over one child no longer totally being with us. So I don't think that he would have done that.
No, you know what? You're
but
right.
When I saw that gun, I was like, oh, he was about to. He was literally about to, and then his daughter came in and apologized.
Yeah. So, 30 seconds later, and she would have had a much different experience.
Well, unfortunately, she still has a much different experience, because shortly after this, Pigmask captures him. Oh, buddy.
Well, should have been so sad.
Yeah. Shouldn't have been such a jerk.
Yeah, jerk. Be nicer to your daughter. You should have better bedside manner with your daughter.
Yeah, stupid bedside manner. That's the whole point of this.
So Jeff gets out of the box.
Yay!
Yay! He overcame his first trap. He got out of the box. The box is like, it's like they got a forklift and picked up the box and then lifted the forklift. Like, I don't know why they did that. It's funny. It's funny. It shouldn't be funny, but it is, because he like falls down like it's like a Looney Tunes thing.
And then it bursts open. Yeah.
And then Amanda comes in. John's talking to Lynn. Everything John says in this movie is like double or triple meaning. Like I know I said in Saw 2 that's peak Jigsaw, but in this one I think, as far as like his plotting and having like a bunch of plates spinning, I think this is probably his best. Like everything he says can be interpreted by every character in the entire movie.
What do I want? I want to play a game.
Amanda just goes, very seriously,
He's out of the box.
he's out of the box.
She's reporting back to her master.
And we're already getting a little bit of like, he's showing some attention to Lynn. Amanda's not liking that. She's getting a little bit of jealous.
She freaks out. She threatens Lynn in this scene. She's
becoming
unhinged.
She threatens Lynn in like every
scene. It's true. It's true. Jigsaw keeps being like, no, don't do that though. But
be nice, follow the rules of our game.
At this point, Lynn is like, Jigsaw needs to go to the hospital. He is having an episode. He has a brain hemorrhage. And we get him having this very intense episode where they have to put an oxygen mask on him, which that might actually be my favorite moment in the entire movie, because he's spitting blood.
I said that in my own. Yeah, the blood in the mask is like, for a series that's like cutting off things and ripping people apart, just a little bit of blood in the mask. It's like, ooh,
It was stunningly beautiful. That's like what I want in a horror movie. Is I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Everything that happens in Saw movies, to some extent, you can predict them. Again,
there's some stupid.
That's your
twists.
Are you Saw smart?
You can't. Yeah.
Exactly. Are you Saw smart? So everything you kind of predict, I was not expecting that in any way, shape, or form, and I think that I like turned my head away from it, because I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna get hit by the friggin' blood.
So the scene leading up to that is really well done too, because it's Lynn being terrified, being like, he has to go to the hospital, and Amanda's just being big dog, like, what? Oh, tell me something I don't know, you stupid. She drops the C word to her.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, she gets this big book of like medicine, and she's like, I know all of this. It was great. And then as soon as he coughs up that blood, it's a complete role reversal. Lynn goes into doctor mode. She knows exactly what to do. Amanda's like, oh my God. You know, Lynn's
Amanda
like, I
freaks
need
out.
you over here. You need to do this, this, and this. It's like, yeah, I loved that like instant role reversal.
Yeah, we get to see Lynn shine in this scene. She is no longer, I mean, she's terrified for her life because she knows that if Jigsaw dies, she dies too. But we get to see that she is now focused, unlike how she was in the hospital in the beginning when she wasn't focused, trying to give somebody emergency attention in the ER. And on the plus side, I don't know, Jigsaw survives. I guess that's...
I mean, it's good for us.
Yeah.
And Lynn, it's probably not good for like society at large.
Yeah, but he does need surgery. And so Amanda is like, we are not taking him to the hospital.
And she's like, oh, okay. She's like tiny voiced in that. Like, okay, what do you need?
What do you need?
I need anesthetic for a procedure like this.
Anesthetic. What else?
She asked for a power drill.
Babe, I'm into it. I like it. I like that that's where you went. You could have asked for anything. If you're asking for anesthetic and you think that you can get that, then you could have asked for any tool at all and you asked for a power drill. Like, what a weird fucking choice. But it ends up being great. I'm very happy for that power drill. And
it's probably the best part of the movie.
Blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, though, before we get into seeing the excitement of the power drill, we get to see Jeff starting to explore now that he's out of the box.
Yeah.
And he finds a naked lady in a freezer. So we learn that this naked lady in the freezer is Danica.
Only naked... I think it's the only nudity in the entire franchise.
I think it is too. We talked about nudity a little bit when we were talking about, I believe it was Saw 1, maybe even Saw 2 also. Wait, hang on, let me start.
We talk about nudity all the time, so it's like really hard to tell.
We talked about nudity before, and I think that it's unique to have so many female characters in a horror movie with zero nudity.
Yeah.
And this is some pretty intense nudity.
She's very nude.
She's very naked.
And I don't know. It kind of adds to the effectiveness because she's so pale, but I don't know if it really...
No. I disagree with all of that.
Okay.
Everything that you just said, I completely disagree with. So let's talk about her trap. So she is strapped up. She's like, her arms are above her head, and she is in a freezer. And to make matters worse, there are pipes that are spraying her with water. So she is going to freeze to death.
It's like a spray tan kind of thing that goes around her.
Like a car wash.
Yeah.
So my problem with this trap is she's naked, right? Wouldn't this trap be worse if she was wearing clothes? Because her clothes would be getting wet and sticking to her?
Sure.
So if we want to make traps be the worst thing possible without death, I would think that she should be the most clothed of anybody. So I thought it was very gratuitous. And I'm not complaining because she was quite lovely to look at. I'm just saying I don't think that it was necessary, and I think that it was the opposite of what would have been effective for a saw trap.
No, I think that's fair. I don't know. I think they were trying to go for like the statue kind of after she was frozen. I think that was kind of
you can have that with clothes on.
Urge to kill rising.
I understand. I'm not defending this. I do think you're right. But it's interesting. It's different.
It is different. This is a very different saw trap. It does not involve blood at all.
No, it doesn't.
Nobody is causing any bleeding to happen with this saw trap. Yeah. The other thing that I have an issue with this one. So again, this is Jeff's game. So Danica is strapped up. She is getting frozen to death. And the reason we find out that she is there is because she was a witness to the crime of his son.
She just dipped.
And she bailed. And she fled the scene of the crime instead of bringing the killer to justice. Now, I have a problem with this, which is that...
The killer was brought to justice?
Sort of. They caught him.
Okay. He didn't leave. Sorry. Well,
God, I hate it so much. Okay, so if she... I'm literally, so if she...
You're going like...
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Stupid quick cuts. So if she had fled and did not testify against him, and they couldn't find her to force her to testify against this guy, how the fuck did Jigsaw find her?
Well, it's possible that Jeff mentioned it in like a police report, and like...
The police didn't do their job?
Well, clearly the police in Saw City didn't do their job. Any of the police we've seen ever done their job.
Touche. I'm just
not
saying,
the greatest police department.
Okay, but even if Jeff had seen her and he had mentioned her in a police report,
I think there's like like don't go kind of shot. There's a lot of like single frame like kind of
garbage, bunch of malarkey.
It's a little tropey.
But I just don't. Okay, so even if he had mentioned her, he wouldn't have known her name.
Well,
so maybe, I just don't understand how Jigsaw found this lady.
Maybe he got a plate.
No.
Maybe Jeff's got a good brain for numbers.
No, he doesn't. You're
he
wrong.
Jeff doesn't have a good brain for anything.
Sense. I don't have a problem with the scene, but the scene doesn't make any sense.
So, no, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. It doesn't work for a few reasons. How did he find her? The guy already went to jail, so how would another witness have helped? Maybe some of the facts wouldn't have been, the defense attorney couldn't have pounced on some of the facts if they had a supporting witness. But yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Stupid. There's
also... It's not explicit in any of these movies, and I don't think it's actually true, but in my brain, these big, long games that kind of go on should be kind of, and then there were none. The more guilty parties die later, and the less guilty parties die first because they have the least guilt, and the more guilty people have to kind of live and process and be punished for their guilt. And I don't think any of these movies really do that.
I was just going to say, so what you're saying is you love Saw 5.
I do like Saw 5.
That was a hilarious joke. You didn't laugh at it all.
Well, I'm sorry.
It wasn't that funny, I guess. It's fine. Everything is fine.
I'll just go.
Regardless, I like this scene and I like this trap.
It's got a completely different color palette than any of the other traps. Everything's green and brown and rust.
Blues
and this one is, it's very bright. It's very blue. You can see their breath and everything like that. Jeff, to save her, he has to reach past these hot pipes and kind of put his face right on there.
He has to get a key from behind the pipes in order to be able to release her. And he debates a lot if he is going to do that. He's having a moral dilemma because he has always sworn that anybody who contributed to the death of his son, that he would get revenge upon.
He's been doing Jeff Bickle for a year now.
Yeah. And now he finally has the opportunity to let her. And so he debates it for a very long time before he finally grabs the key. But unfortunately, it's too late and she is already a popsicle.
You should review her.
I know. I was going to say. Yeah. So this gives me a great moment to plug my Patreon. If you like to see popsicle reviews, you can see them over on my Patreon at Once Over with Kaylee at patreon.com. I'm going to redo that whole plug. Jeez Louise. And I never did redo that plug. I do not review the frozen popsicle body of Danica over there. But you never know. You never know. You never know.
And then he pokes her, and it the ice shatters a little bit. In my head, I know it'd be stupid. I want her to just completely shatter. Like Wesley Snipes at the end of Demolition Man. I just want her... I know it's stupid. I know it doesn't make any sense. I know it hasn't been anywhere near long enough. I still want it every time. Every time I want it. That's okay. There's one thing...
Maybe one time you'll watch it and it'll happen.
The ultra super extended edition director's second cut. There is one thing that got me thinking, though.
Okay.
Jeff is in his dressing gown or his bathrobe.
Yep.
And it's very Hitchhiker's Guide. He doesn't have a towel, though. That's for me. But it makes me wonder, if he had lived, is that the reason they put the bathrobe on him? So he could give the naked lady his bathrobe? Because potentially she could have lived, and then if she had lived, she would have been just naked, running around the rest of the
thoughtful.
Because he takes it off afterwards.
Yeah.
He's like, well, it's probably wet and everything, but
it was probably very cold.
It's probably cold and wet and
stupid. I hate this scene. After he gets out of this room, so he leaves her. She's popsicle lady.
Yeah.
And he gets another note that says it includes one bullet, and it says one bullet will end it all.
Yeah.
So we get another cut, and we go back into seeing what Lynn and Amanda and Jigsaw are up to. And Lynn is kind of like snooping around, and we get to see Amanda's trap, and we get to see all these weapons.
Yeah.
And as Lynn, you can like kind of tell that the wheels are spinning with Lynn right now. And right as the wheels are spinning, Amanda comes up behind her and says, "Go ahead, kill me. You won't be able to disarm your trap," which you would be able to if you ask me, but whatever.
She could be bluffing.
Whatever.
She could be bluffing her.
So Amanda's like, you'd be surprised what these tools can do to save a life.
Yeah, and she kind of like lovingly touches the reverse bear trap.
Again, this is Amanda admitting, I would not have been okay if it hadn't been for what Jigsaw did. Yeah. I have gratitude for Jigsaw, is basically what Amanda is saying in these times. And this is when we start to realize how easily she must have been manipulated into becoming the apprentice, right?
Yeah, it leads right into this whole sequence. It like leads... Maybe I'm revealing too much about myself, but like this whole kind of sequence is very like sensual, I guess. Yeah. I don't know how to. It's like Lynn and Amanda kind of have the vibe, and they're like caressing things, and then it goes into this flashback of how Jigsaw put Amanda in the trap, and like he's very lovingly putting it on and everything like that. And just the way it's shot and conveyed, it just has this kind of like sensuality to it that I feel very weird saying, and like maybe it's just me, but it's something I always feel when I watch this movie.
I see that, and we also get to see him very lovingly creating Billy the Puppet.
That's right, we see Billy the Puppet.
Your favorite.
I love Billy.
Yay.
There's some good Billy moments.
If you had to pick between Billy and Amanda, who would you pick?
Oh, don't make me pick.
I know, I'm sorry.
It's like making me pick me. It's a Sophie's choice right now. I'm sorry, Amanda. I have to go with Billy. I'm sorry.
I'm surprised.
Billy's in more of them. That's the only thing.
Right.
That's the only thing that gets him up.
All right.
I'm sorry, Amanda.
Shawnee Smith, I still love you.
Shawnee Smith, I'm sorry. There's some great pictures of Shawnee Smith with Billy the Puppet.
Yes.
She loves it.
Adorable. And you're right, again, these are these very tender moments that we get, and so we get to see all of this interaction, and it ends with Lynn deciding not to kill Amanda, even though Amanda has given her the full opportunity. Amanda has turned around and said, "Go ahead, just do it."
I saw you eyeing the sax. She was like a salesman or something. I saw you eyeing the sax. It's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
there you
good
go.
Choice.
She hands it to her. She turns around. She's like, I'm not a doctor, but I'd go for the neck."
Yeah. She's back into being in the power position. And Amanda eventually goes to Jigsaw and is like, they start to have more conversations. And part of that conversation, for me, the most important part of that conversation was when Amanda says to Jigsaw, well, you chose her for this operation because she's the best surgeon. And that's why you wanted her to be a part of this trap. And Jigsaw says, that's not the only reason that I chose her.
One of the reasons.
And we know, again, that everything has purpose in these films. And so obviously Jigsaw would not choose Lynn just for the fact that she is a doctor. She was chosen for a purpose, and we can't wait to find out what that purpose is. Right?
Yeah. Well, I know. I've known for like 50...
Did you guess it?
I'll be honest.
The first time that you saw it?
No, I didn't guess it at all.
Yeah.
Like I was completely blindsided by it. I thought it was a very good like low stakes twist. It's not like, oh my God. but it's like, oh, I didn't see that coming. I've actually fallen for that again in another, like, there's the Dead Rising 3 video game does a similar thing. And I fell for it both times.
Well, I guess it turns out that Cookie is not Saw smart.
I'm just not marriage smart.
Oh, that's...
Spoiler.
So Jeff ends up finding this laughing Billy doll.
Yeah, he's like laid out. He looks like he's had a drunken night on his tricycle.
Important for Jeff.
Yeah, it looks a lot like the accident his son had on his tricycle. I don't think his son was riding a tricycle.
Bicycle. Some sort of wheeled instrument. So this triggers the memory. And of course, this is very emotional. This is when we get back to, also you mentioned earlier, the kind of still images, the Jeff reaching out like this, the very dramatic kind of moment. And it's quite beautiful, despite the fact that it is the traditional Saw, quick cut, yeah.
Yeah, it's the second time, and that reminds me of the game where Michael Douglas finds the clown in a similar position as his father when he was younger, and now it's...
Yep.
It's all coming together.
It's all coming together. Everything is... It's Travis Bickle all over.
Don't fucking, I'll fucking kill you. Talking to me?
Love Jeff. I love Jeff so much.
Jeff is great. He's really great. And this also leads us into the next sort of game for Jeff, which relates to the judge of the case. Of course, because his son was killed in this drunk driving accident, we know that there had to be a judge who was overseeing that. And apparently the committer of the crime got off a little bit easy. He got a very light sentence.
Seems like time served, kind of something like that.
Yeah. So Jeff is obviously pissed off at the judge about this, and his whole thing is that he has a vendetta against everybody who wronged his child. So Jeff has to kind of decide if he is going to save the judge or not.
Mm-hmm.
And he can save the judge by incinerating all of his son's belongings.
Including the stuffed pig that he yelled at his daughter for taking.
And we know how much those mean to him. He doesn't want to change anything that's set up in the room. It actually reminded me a little bit, do you know the moment in Stand By Me when the dad is very, very upset at Will Wheaton's character?
Yeah.
Because of the other son's death. And he was like, don't mess with that. The room has to stay exactly how it was. And so this is a big moment for Jeff. But it also brings us to my absolute favorite saw trap, probably of all time, which is the judge's saw trap.
I believe it's Tobin Bell's favorite as well.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, so Jeff can save the judge by incinerating all of his son's belongings. But what will happen to the judge if he doesn't?
He's like chained up at the bottom of this like vat. It's kind of like brewery or like what Batman drops Joker into.
Yeah. When I first saw it, it reminded me a ton of the Needle Pit. Like, I almost thought we were doing another reimagination of the Needle Pit. It's not like that, even in the slightest.
Jeff moves a giant bed, and he finds it underneath there.
Yes. One could dream. But no, actually, this is legitimately, like, my favorite thing in the whole friggin' world. So what happens is the judge is strapped at the bottom of this pit. And, you know, his neck is strapped down, and all of a sudden a conveyor belt starts going around the room.
Yeah, there's this big, like, kind of industrial, like, siren. Not siren, but...
Yeah, buzzer.
Buzzer, yeah.
And we know something horrible is going to happen. So what
it's
comes out...
movie.
Yeah. What comes out as the conveyor belt starts coming around?
Pigs!
Dead, gross pigs!
Big rubber pigs covered in maggots. The pigs... They kind of look cute in their face. I don't know. I maybe I'm crazy.
You're crazy.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I think they got a little bit of a cute guy thing going on right here.
I don't know that I agree with you about that at all. But what happens as this contraption continues around is that the pigs get dropped into basically like a chipper. And a pig chipper. I don't know what that is called.
A brick in the wall.
It's The Simpsons when they're going into the...
Yes. I believe I'll start as you've so often suggested by eating your short.
A meat grinder. It's an industrial meat grinder.
That's
what it
it.
is. So the pigs drop into a meat grinder, and then all of the pig goop flows into the vat where the judge is strapped.
It looks gross. It looks nasty.
I love it so much. I'm so in love with this trap.
I did look up what it is.
Okay.
Because I'm always curious, like, what it was. And if it was real pig guts, the guy couldn't have done it.
No,
It would have
been disgusting.
He would have thrown up, and it just wouldn't have looked good. It ended up being like skim milk, pudding, and Nutella.
Yum.
So it actually was probably pretty good. You know, he's like...
Yeah, he's sticking his tongue out. It was so gross. There's not a lot of gagging happening, actually. You would think he would be gagging a little bit more.
Yeah.
Perhaps we could have taken that acting ability a little further. I don't know. I love it. The whole idea is that he's going to drown in this pig goop. He's drowning in pig guts.
Yeah.
And that is such a gnarly saw trap. Like, it's evil. That's just an evil one.
Yeah, usually it's pretty quick. You know, you get cut up or ripped into pieces or set on fire. Not this time. No. Yeah. You're going to drown, which is probably one of the worst ways to die, in one of the worst substances to
pig
drown.
Bath, yeah. Pig bath, gross. Gross, so friggin' gross. Oh my god.
Yeah, and it's like getting up, it's like covering his entire face, and like this is something that happens more and more throughout the Saw franchise, which is like somebody with a modicum of power, which is always my favorite subjects.
Yep.
They just kind of start trying to like bargain, exactly. Oh, I could do things for you, like, oh, we could get his sentence like extended, which is like, that's sketchy. Which, I mean, judges probably can do that in real life, let alone Saw City judges.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jeff's like, just doesn't want to hear it. He's yelling at him. What finally seems to like push him towards like actually burning the stuff is when the judge says, I have a son myself, you know, your son wouldn't want this, you know, kind of bringing it directly to the reasons that Jeff wants this done. And he goes, the toys are like hung up in this like, it's like a smoke room.
I don't even define it as kind of like a vertical, what's the thing that Abby dies in? Why can't I think of the name?
Like a furnace kind of thing?
No, but specific to bodies.
Let's
go with human oven. Human oven. I don't know. I can't think of the name. There's a word for that. But regardless, that's kind of how I viewed it.
I'm just imagining like Return of the Living Dead, where Abby's smoke goes up into the clouds and everyone comes back as Abby's.
Yes. You wish. I know you love Abby.
Abby's so cool.
So he does decide he incinerates everything. He saves the judge.
He gets some flashes of his son getting the pig on Christmas morning, and the son's like, "Yay, this is my stuffed pig!" And like, that's a crap gift for Christmas morning. I gotta say, it's pretty crap. Kids seem to love it though.
You would love it.
I would love a stuffed pig now. I don't think I would have loved it when I was like 8.
All right, touche.
It's like, touche. Oh, I wanted a Super Nintendo, but this stuffed pig is pretty cool.
Thank you.
I guess. Also, that kid looks a lot like what I looked like as a kid, which, that doesn't mean anything.
Feels very emotional.
Yeah, I was like, I remember when I got the stuffed pig when I was a kid. Oh, wait, no, that didn't happen.
That wasn't me. False memory. No, something that I did not like about this is that when he does the incineration, so he chooses to save the judge, he presses the button to incinerate all the stuff, and then we get the sad piano music.
Where are you going?
And I was not emotional at all while the judge is taking this pig gut bath.
And it's like here by that point.
It is not, that was not the time for sad piano. Like, that's when I want new metal, is toys being incinerated and a dude in pig guts. That is the time for new metal, and you gave me sad piano music? What kind of a choice was that?
Anymore.
I was so upset. Cookie. I couldn't believe it. Oh my god.
You were upset because the stuffed pig got burnt up.
Yes, that's why.
I did have a quick thing on the stuffed pig.
Okay.
So you can cut any of this you want, because I know you don't like to talk about your job and where we work and everything, but let me say it and we can cut it out if you don't like it.
Oh boy. Okay.
So, me and Kaylee work together. She's my direct report down at the dick sucking factory.
It's true.
She's the one that comes and knocks them out of my hand if anything goes wrong. But we have a boss, and
it's so nice to talk about our personal lives. Go on.
So we have a boss. She brings her dog in to Buddy. Buddy's a good boy, but he's a bad boy.
Very good boy.
But I'm putting some stuff into her office one morning, and this was like the day after I'd watched Saw 3.
Yeah.
What's in his little fucking cage? That's fucking stuffed pig. And then like 2 days later, my computer is advertising Saw protein powder to me, which we're not going to advertise, but it should have been called sawdust. So I'm just saying, once Saw's in your life, it really never goes anywhere.
It can't.
It goes
Does
here.
Buddy love the stuffed pig?
It's always in his cage, so I'm assuming that's his favorite one. So, he's probably going to have to burn that someday.
Oh, no. He's going to have to make a decision. It's a game for Buddy. Poor Buddy.
He's such a good boy.
Yeah, we love him.
I would just let him out of the saw trap instantly.
Yeah.
You look sad, and I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
You don't have to learn anything.
Yeah,
You're already perfect.
No lessons for you. So, after we get this whole crazy pig gut scene, we cut to, again, back in the room with Lynn and Jigsaw and Amanda. And Lynn now needs to operate on an awake Jigsaw.
Yes.
Now this
give him a local anesthetic.
This confused me because she was so obsessive about getting the anesthetics. But she doesn't end up using it at all.
She does.
Oh,
she gave him a local anesthetic, and Amanda's like, "What? He's going to be awake?"
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's fucking brain surgery.
Yeah.
They've got to be awake so that if
they're dead.
They're dead, or you're speaking French now, or any sort of your hand can just slip and suddenly they can't add to 4 anymore.
And happily, this is when we get back to the power drill that we were so excited about.
There's one moment right before that. Lynn has to use the scalpel to cut the little thing. She goes in and she freaks out and she steps away. And she lets it sit for a few minutes, or a few seconds, and goes right back to it. Just like Jack from Lost, who is also a surgeon and also had to do a weird saw type surgery.
Oh boy.
So what I'm saying is this is basically
Lost.
This is basically
We're
Lost.
in the Lost universe.
Lost and Saw, my 2 jams, finally have come together.
I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you.
I just need to get a Lost reference in there somewhere.
I'm so happy. Well, my favorite part, despite the fact that is a nice little tender moment of her having a personality, what I really care about is that power drill. So she drills these 4 holes into a square sort of pattern into his skull, and then cuts the square part of the skull out around those holes. And yeesh.
The sound design. It's all about the sound design. It's all about the sound design in this scene.
I couldn't watch it. My feet were crunching into balls. I have never ever felt that viscerally affected by something. It's worse than Needle Pit. This is the hardest thing for me to watch in a Saw film.
I completely agree, and I think this is really where the unrated stuff starts to shine. Usually, it's a few more frames of the guts going, blah. But yeah, the extra stuff here is just, it's so visceral, and gnarly. Yeah, she's what's like, keep your mouth closed because it's going to be loud, and like it feels real in a way that like it really shouldn't. It should be like schlocky, it should be like a Dr. Giggles operation.
It's not.
It is not. It is gnarly. The sound of the drill, and then she has like the bone saw, like, it's just all so great.
I did not. I mean, I loved that scene. That's what I want in my horror movies. Is I want to turn away.
Yeah, you don't want to just be like,
okay, here's another jigsaw trap. Here's another whatever.
Oh, more pig guts. Oh, I haven't seen that before.
So I really think that in this film, the thing that shined for me is all of those sequences. All of the sequences with Lynn, Amanda, and Jigsaw. The idea of there having to be the saving Jigsaw sort of narrative. It was very beautiful. It was very successfully done. And we got the coughing into the oxygen mask. We got this horrible skull drilling.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And
amazing, good horror.
Yeah, and you get these flashes of a woman who turns out to be Jill, his wife. Nice, easy paycheck for Betsy Russell on this one. Yeah. Her and Tobin Bell seem to have just hung out with a camcorder in a park one day, probably 3 hours, and she's good to go.
Yep. So this is our first introduction to Jill.
Yeah, I don't think she doesn't have a name or a line or anything.
And she will continue to be in the future films.
Yep.
And I find her character to be relatively useless. Now, obviously, she serves a narrative later in the series. Mm-hmm. But every single time that I see her, I'm like, I just don't need her at all. I could do without her at all.
No, I can completely see that. In this one, it kind of works because like it's maybe like an angel kind of thing. It's like he's dying, so he's seeing the light, so he's kind of it's the character seeing their family on the other side, but I really can't defend Jill too much. She's very pretty.
I think that I guess her purpose, at least in this scene, serves to show that as John is dying, that's what he's thinking of. But in addition to that, when he comes to, he says, "I love you" to Lynn.
Yeah, he like grabs onto her hand. The implication is that he's thinking he's talking to his wife there.
And Amanda is so jealous. She is just unbelievably upset about this. I think I could have dealt without that flashback. I think that we could have not seen that, and I would have had just as emotional. I almost don't want to know what he's thinking about in his dying moments. I want to, I want to imagine it.
What if it was him and Billy in the park, and he's like got the camcorder on Billy?
You wish.
I do wish.
Yeah, I know you do. We already got to see the creation of Billy in this one. You should be a happy man.
We get to see, and there's a prototype Billy in some of the later ones.
Yeah, that's true. Very excited. Very excited.
So stay tuned for more Billy.
Then, after Amanda's lovely jealousy, we get to see what I'm sure is your favorite part of the movie, which is Amanda in a horrible, horrible wig. As we get to basically see a flash to when Amanda first signs on with Jigsaw.
Yeah.
And so we get to see the two of them prepping everything for Saw 1. So Amanda was in on all of it. They're painting the X on the wall with the glow ink that I still have many issues with.
The poop heart is there. I freeze framed it. I'm like, the poop heart better be there, or somebody better get fired over that blood.
Yep. And then Amanda puts the key in the tub. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so she brings Adam in this little baby cart. Adam's on this little like baby cart, and then she just goes, and then drags him across the room. You keep him on the cart, bring him in. She's still learning. She's still learning.
I think that I think we probably differ about this. I don't like that everything is retconned. Like, everything in this movie has to have an explanation. Okay, so it wasn't just Jigsaw in the first one. It turns out that it was Jigsaw and Amanda all along. And we have to go back and we have to see this.
More. And I mean,
And it explains things like Jigsaw took muscle relaxers, and that's how he was able to stay on the floor in the first one. And I'm like, oh my God.
That kind of goes back to what I was saying about breaking the foot at the beginning.
Yeah.
I feel like that's another them responding to criticism. How could he just lay there like that when his cancer-ridden body and his foot's in that messed up position? It's like, well, he took some drugs.
Yeah, it's true. All while this is happening, we also get to learn a little bit more about Amanda. One of the things that is really significant about her is that she lets her emotions get the best of her. We later get to see her self-harming again, and we get to see this as very much a vulnerable aspect of her character. She, despite the fact that Jigsaw claims that he is helping people, we can very much see that even if she has been helped sometimes out of some of her old habits, she is not doing okay.
She's taken her drug addiction and kind of she's transferred it over to this, which is, unfortunately, is very common for addicts to latch on to something else to an unhealthy degree.
And it all goes back to that moment where she is caressing her saw trap, her reverse bear trap, and she's saying, it's amazing how any given tool can save a life.
Yeah.
Now we are seeing how tools continue to destroy lives. And again, the fact that Jigsaw, it seems, is really manipulating her into doing a lot of these things, even though she's not okay. Her life has not been saved, even though she says that it is.
It's like, not to, I don't know, this might be shitty, but like, it's like when somebody first goes through like a 12-step program or rehab and they come out with this like too cheery of an attitude.
Yeah.
Everything's different now. I'm a totally different person. It's like, well, you haven't really hit any roadblocks yet, you know, and you got to kind of mellow yourself out and find your natural state of being. But it's like, no, I'm up here all the time.
Yeah.
We're doing traps all the time, baby.
Yeah.
Traps all day, every day.
Yeah.
Me and Billy.
But we do also learn, probably the most important part of the sequence is that through this flashback, we find out that Amanda does not allow Adam to just die. She goes back and she kills him.
Yeah.
So that is the opposite of what Jigsaw's prerogative is. This is her going rogue, or this is her not being cured in the same way that he thinks that she's cured.
Yeah, and this is actually where I think the first difference in the director's cut is. It's like we get a flashback. I don't know where. She's got a wig on. It's not exactly the Sawtooth wig. It's
definitely not the Sawtooth wig. It's worse than the Sawtooth wig. It's worse than the Saw.
There's like 6 wigs in here of varying quality.
This one's the worst.
This one's probably worse. She hears some noises. They're in the lair. Jigsaw's like asleep. He's just like a little tucked in. He's probably got a Billy next to him.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? And she goes out. She looks out through this like caged door, and she actually sees Adam in like his Saw 1 getup, which I guess he's always dressed like that. And he's talking backwards. Like, you like will come back in style. And then he just like and disappears. And she goes back at that point and kills Adam. And I think that scene adds a lot to her going back. Because without it, it just seems like she's like either a bad apprentice or she doesn't believe with what it. So adding in that scene, I think, does a really good job because I feel like it makes it merciful. I think it makes it feel like she's wracked with guilt for what's happening because she kind of screwed over Adam. And I actually, like we talked about backfilling, I actually like that backfill. Because Adam couldn't win. Like on my chart,
he would have suffered.
He couldn't win.
Yeah.
As soon as he woke up, the key was gone. Like he would have had to what and grab this glowy key. Like no, and she's the one that did that. So it kind of adds some depth to what she's doing as opposed to I'm the bad apprentice.
Yeah.
So I do like that.
Yeah, it's instead of her going rogue, it's her having humanity.
That's exactly right. It makes it kind of a mercy killing,
Yeah.
as opposed to just her being a baddie. She's a baddie. Well,
She's
she is
also a baddie.
Baddie, but in
Yeah.
a different way.
Yeah. I like her character arc a lot in this movie.
I think so too. It comes off like unhinged and unbalanced, but I mean, we're dealing with, you know, a former drug addict that basically joined a cult that is murdering people. Like, yeah, she's gonna be a bit off balanced. And but before we move on, I do. Sorry, I'd never noticed this before, but I'm pretty sure she's wearing a bathing suit for underwear. Like, you know, in the self-harm scene, you kind of see, you know, a little bit.
You're looking too closely, is what I'm hearing.
Well,
the words that I'm hearing are that you look
but
very
she's
closely.
got also. But after I saw that, I did notice she has like a matching kind of bra thing underneath, and the material is
It looks like the.
It looks more like bathing suit stuff. So I don't know. Maybe there's a pool out back or something. It's probably filled with rusty brown water.
He gives them to you like this.
You want to go for a little pig gut bath?
And she's gonna go swim down to the judge and like steal his rings and stuff like that.
Gross.
Get his watch off.
No.
Ooh, Nutella. Just, I don't know if anyone knows about her swimsuit.
But I would like to know more.
I want to know more.
Can I buy it on eBay right now? So, meanwhile, we have Jeff about to go into his last room.
Yeah.
And since the judge lived, he is now trailed by the judge.
And they have like a pretty good little back and forth moment, you know, like, well, you know, you should have done this. Well, you should have done this. And, you know, I think that's really good. That's a new dynamic that we really haven't gotten through any of them. I was also wondering, like, you know, he goes through these 3 traps. He could potentially save these 3 people. Like, what would they have done if he was rolling deep at the end, and him and his
all
3 of the people and him like roll in? Like, what would Jigsaw have done then?
Well, I guess we can't count on Jeff.
We can't count on Jeff.
We can count on Jeff.
We can count on Jeff fucking up.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you for being so consistent.
So Jeff gets another tape, and he discovers, or the 2 of them, I guess, discover a man strapped in kind of like a cross-like position.
Yeah, a little bit of like a Motrin man? Not Motrin.
The Vitruvian man.
Yeah, so this device is called the rack.
It's Jigsaw's favorite. Not Tobin Bell's, it's Jigsaw's favorite.
This is probably my second favorite.
It's pretty good.
I like it.
I like the design of it.
So the idea is that the rack will twist your extremities. So I kind of...
It's got like a helmet kind of looking thing on.
It almost feels like, to me, like severe Indian burn. So like the whole idea is like your whole arm is twisted. And it, like, obviously it's not, it's twisting, it's pulling the skin off. That's what's going to happen. So your legs get twisted outwards.
And then the bones pop out.
Blah, blah, blah. I love it so much. Yeah, the leg bone popping out. Jeez Louise, that thing is great. So the way that Jeff can save the gentleman who is in this trap is if he gets a key that is tied to the trigger of a gun. But we also have to talk about who is this guy.
Yeah.
It's the most important of all the guys. It's the driver.
It's the driver. And this is... I think you could either say it's a very strong choice or it's a big mistake. Mm-hmm. I don't know which, because they do the freeze frame single pictures of the accident. The guy is instantly like full of remorse.
Yeah.
He falls down, he's crying, and like he didn't flee the scene like the other woman. Like, he went to court. He did everything in his power that he could do. And like, this is the guy Jeff is going like,
yeah. No, I liked that choice though.
No, 100%. But I could see people being like, what? But it undercuts what they're trying to do. But no, I like that choice.
I think it was kind of the same sort of emotional experience that you had when we talked about in Saw 1, when Dr. Larry Gordon goes into the hotel room with another lady.
Yeah.
And does not do anything with her. And it's the same kind of idea. We're all in moral dilemmas, right? Yeah. This car crash not only ended the life of a child, but in addition to that, it destroyed the life of a father and it destroyed the life of the driver. Now, there's a whole bunch of exposition in this scene that I could have totally done without.
This is actually an extended cut difference. Okay. In the extended cut, the judge doesn't say anything. He just gets shot in the face and he's done. This is where it extends out. I do like some of it. I do think it kind of hammers home the like I was saying, the trolley problem of like, if we don't do anything, we are responsible for this death. My biggest problem with this trap is that the actor is really goofy looking in his facials. He like crosses his eyes and he goes like, and like
he's a little bug-eyed.
And goes a little cross-eyed for it and like
hamming it up.
And he's well, there weren't any supposed to be any pigs in this trap. Sorry.
Hamming it up. I'm sorry.
We're going hog with all these.
Oh my good God. It was funny when I did it. It wasn't funny any other time. Only I can dance.
Sit perfectly still. Only I may dance. Only I may dance.
I'm not 100% sure what's going on with this gun.
I don't understand anything about that portion of this trap.
So the gun, it's a shotgun.
Yeah.
It's in a glass case.
Yep.
One of the first. There's many glass cases to come. Not in this movie specifically. There's a piece of twine that goes up and around and it comes down on the thing that's holding the key, and the key thing unscrews. So I guess the key is weighing it down, and then once the key's gone, it like
I don't understand anything about. I don't know the point of the key. I don't understand anything that is happening.
Well, the key was to get the guy out.
No, but I don't understand the point of I don't understand the point of the rig for the key, I guess is a better way to describe it. I don't understand the mechanics of this. I just like the skin twisting.
No, that's totally fair.
You don't have any good answers for me?
I don't think there's a really good answer for it.
That's fine.
My guess is he was supposed to get shot a little bit, and that's like the sacrifice he's
supposed
making.
To get shot in the shoulder.
Yeah, but I mean, if the judge wasn't there, they would have gotten away scot-free.
Oh, totally.
That also this goes back to the ice one, which is, did they measure Jeff's arms?
Oh, I had that question also when I was watching the movie. I was like, how did they know how to put it right out of his distance?
what if he's got like little stubby arms and he just can't make it no matter what he does?
Yes, he's a T-Rex. We don't know. No, I know. I thought about that too. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Because it was exactly out of his reach.
Yeah.
So
get the tailors measuring.
What ends up happening, in the most oversimplified of way, what ends up happening with the key is that Jeff gets the key, and then the shotgun goes off and it shoots the judge.
It's pretty good effect too. He's like half his face is missing.
Dude, the comedic timing of that is because Jeff's like, look, I got the key. Oh no.
Got the key.
Oh
no! So funny. Oh my God, it's so fucking funny. I love it. I fucking love it. It's like,
Judge, no! And the guy's like,
it is so fucking perfect. But then the key doesn't even unlock the thing.
I think it was too late at that point.
I struggled with, again, the mechanics of this particular track.
I think
I don't care because, again, I love that bone snap.
The rule of cool is that, by the time he gets the key out, like, the dude's like, and you see it's maybe not as another maybe bad wig, but you see his hair from the back of his head is now on the front of his head, and there's like a really gnarly, like, kind of like, twist in the puppet or whatever they got there, and like looks really gnarly.
Yeah, it looks great.
And Jeff has like, it's like it's like a religious moment or something. Like the guy's dead and he's just like on his knees in front of him, like, I forgive him. Like, it's really powerful. It's like not like we're kind of getting way more emotional in these Saw traps than like I got to get out to save my family, which is emotional, but it's different. It's survival as opposed to dealing with these kind of emotional issues.
I do, and we've started to have this conversation a little bit, but I personally am a fan of the nice, simple Saw trap. Here's a lesson that you need to learn, and here is a game that you are going to play in order to learn that lesson. So I like things like the barbed wire. You're cutting yourself. You should stop cutting yourself. You should value your life. Therefore, get yourself through barbed wire. That is the perfect Saw trap for
that
me.
Makes sense, like also why you like the first ones,
yes,
the opening ones,
yes,
so much, because you don't really have any of that context or baggage if you'd see it that way, and it's just pure Saw trap.
When we get into these like multiple room, like one person is like navigating through a maze in addition to dealing with the traps, I get overwhelmed. I think
that's kind of what
all of the movies are.
I'm trying to think that, yeah, that's like, as it goes on, it's just
more and more and more and more of that. And don't get me wrong, I like a lot of those things.
Sox doesn't do that.
But
spoilers.
We'll have to get there.
Spoilers.
But it becomes challenging for me to kind of go on the journey with these people.
Okay, I can totally see that. And I think it did start with 2.
Yes.
It was like we said, partway through 2, it's like, I don't
care about all these people. There's too many people.
Come on.
And in this one, at least we have less main characters. So I do like that we're kind of isolated.
Jeff is very strong. Lynn's very strong. Amanda's very strong. And Jigsaw's very strong. Yep. Those 4 can really carry you through.
Oh, absolutely. You know what is interesting? We don't get a huge police presence in this one. Usually most of the Saw movies, very big police. We do get some. I'm not saying we don't get any.
These movies, like after this one, they really become cop. They really become cop movies after these
Fake
ones.
movies, you might even say.
Well, Spiral does it does.
Just a little bit. Regardless of what's happening with Jeff, regardless of if I like that or if I don't, regardless of if the key makes any sense or not, or if the judge's brains are blown out on a wall somewhere, we are going to go back to Jigsaw and Amanda. And this is when Lynn kind of starts to get some balls, right? Mm-hmm. She goes and she tries to attack Amanda, but Amanda fights back.
She like Jimmy's a door open?
Yeah, she sure does.
So at first I was like, why? I was like, oh, that doesn't really accomplish anything, but it does sort of set up that space for later where Jeff comes through it, which wasn't really needed.
No,
but
it wasn't.
It was nice to give Lynn something to do and to show that she wasn't just like sitting in a corner.
Yeah, waiting to operate.
Waiting to die or hope Jigsaw wouldn't die. Yeah.
But Lynn ends up giving up with this attack. She ends up deciding that she can't kill Amanda if she wants the collar off of her head. So she's like, nope, I'm okay. I'm not going to do that. And at the same time, Amanda is telling Jigsaw, hey, dude, Jeff made it through all 3 levels. Mm-hmm. And Jigsaw's like, okay, that means that now we take off Lynn's collar.
No.
Unlock her collar and let her go.
I said no.
She is just flat out, absolutely not. I am not doing that.
She has the gun? Are we already there with the gun?
So Amanda holds Lynn and Jigsaw at gunpoint.
There is one important detail that it's like a blink and you miss it.
Yep.
Amanda goes to a drawer. She opens it. She finds a letter to her that says Amanda. She reads it and she loses her mind. She's just crying and like hyperventilating. And they'll answer that in like 3 movies.
Yeah. I think it's only 2 more after this one.
But I didn't fully... There's more to it that even you don't know.
Oh, good God. Stupid envelope. Goddamn retcon backfill. Stupid crap. Stupid crap. In between Amanda holding Lynn and Jigsaw at gunpoint, we're also getting flashbacks to Amanda and Detective Matthews fighting. And that's another freaking brutal scene. He is slamming her across walls. He's smashing her head into the wall repeatedly.
Not to be like, oh, I loved the violence to women scene. It actually, it's like she comes up and she's just all bloody and everything. It actually reminded me of like wrestling.
Yeah.
When like you can get beat up but still come out looking like a badass. Like she's got all this color on her, and like this scene, she has. This is probably my favorite of her wigs. I think her wig looks really good in this one. Maybe not the actual wig, but the style of it.
Okay.
They're trying to be like, okay, well, this is after Saw 2, so maybe she's had a few weeks for it to grow out or anything. She's kind of got it looks better. But yeah, the wig looks, she's all bloodied. She manages to get the upper hand and like run away. And he's just screaming, "You'll never be Jigsaw! You'll never be Jigsaw!
You're not Jigsaw, bitch!
You're not Jigsaw, bitch!"
The bitch.
And that is like, that's the biggest insult that you can give to Amanda. Like, she wants so badly to carry on this legacy. She cares so deeply. Again, you referred earlier to Jigsaw as kind of like a father figure for her. And he is. This is somebody who has started coddling her in many ways. She attributes her life to him.
And it's like you
and
said.
So for Detective Matthews to be like, no, you're not as cool as him.
I got your number.
Like that.
Yeah, she like collapses to her knees and everything around the corner. Like he really got to her. And I like you said, Jigsaw is manipulating her, and it's not abusive per se, but is not a great relationship. But he believes, he is a true believer in what he is doing. So in his head, it's not like, oh, let me manipulate her to do this, and let me manipulate. It's like, I'm making my little team, and like this is my daughter, and she's gonna carry on my legacy, not realizing that he is just completely messing with her mind.
Yeah, that is a good point, that he believes in his cause. I never had thought about it that way. The way that I always thought of it was, he's forcing her to do his bidding, and that's evil. But I think you're right that it's not coming from an evil place from him. That's very, very interesting.
Yeah, there's layers to it.
Yeah. So Jigsaw tries to stop this gunpoint situation. He's like, do not shoot Lynn. She is very important. She's very important to you. Please don't shoot her.
That's one of my favorite things. She's just like, why is he so important to you? It's like, she's not important to me at all.
Yeah.
I love everything he says. Has like 3 meanings in this one. It's beautiful. He's like begging her to reconsider. It's like, I don't know. She's very like, I kept thinking like GTA or something with the gun. Like she's just very loose with it. And at one point, it's like, she has control over you, and he's like, motherfucker, you gave her control over me? Like, that's a thing that people regularly do? You gave her control over me?
Well, again, I think it goes to show how much Amanda is manipulated. Yeah. She believes in ultimate control. She believes in ultimately submitting herself to somebody, and she ultimately also believes in playing games. She believes in submitting herself to a game. But Amanda, in this case, does not submit to Jigsaw's requirements, which are do not shoot Lynn. So she shoots Lynn. And it turns out...
Jeff's coming through. He's got like a crowbar or something, and he's like hitting lights as he goes by. It's very like teenager kind of... I guess it's like, I'm going to fucking kill some people. Like show his state of mind. But it's very funny. I love Jeff.
I know you do. And it turns out that...
Oh, sorry. There's just one extra thing I want to add. Yeah. During the gun scene, Amanda goes, "Fix me, motherfucker!" Which is perfect and hilarious and heartbreak. It's like... It's genius in my mind. Like it's what she wants. It's what she needs, and he clearly can't give her what she needs in this regard.
Yeah,
it's great. It's great.
No, you're absolutely right. And that really does lead us perfectly into the end of the movie, this final showdown. What happens is Jeff is rushing into the room. Jeff sees that Amanda has shot Lynn, and so Jeff shoots Amanda. Because as it turns out, Lynn is Jeff's wife. What?
Yeah, unlike Larry, she was actually doing some cheating.
Yep. So Jigsaw says, you just murdered Jeff's wife. You
have ruined 4 lives. Which, I think that number's actually higher, but...
Because, of course, this whole thing was a test for Amanda. And she didn't follow the rules.
And we get our, like, climax, everything coming together. Although I think this is the first and maybe the only time where we are getting new information. It's actually connecting dots. And it is painting a whole picture that you probably weren't seeing beforehand.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Did you foresee the marriage thing?
I did, only because so as we were going through all the like as Jeff was going through all of his challenges, he was getting these little cards and he was getting photographs. And as soon as we didn't get his wife first, I was like, oh, his wife has to be the other main female character.
The last box, he like looks at the picture, but we see it from behind. Yeah. So we don't see who it is.
Yeah. So I had predicted that. Again, that's that Saw smart.
You're smart. You're Saw smart. You're Saw smarter than me.
Saw smart is the idea of being able to predict what this weird, wacky twist is, and almost always what we learned from the first one is it's somebody in the room. If I can see them, then they're important. And so I was like, okay, so the other important person is Lynn. So this one I did predict. There are tons of things that I do not predict in Saw movies. But that I did predict. I figured that was what was going to be one of the twists and turns of this movie. I did not predict that the whole thing was going to be a test for Amanda. And I love the idea that the whole thing is a test for Amanda because, to me, again, she is an incredibly tragic character. And her deciding not to follow the rules is quite a powerful thing. In this situation, she's effectively rejecting all the rules that a man has implaced on her. And so we don't talk a lot, or we haven't talked a lot, about the idea of how misogynistic or not misogynistic these movies are. This is really Amanda's moment as a final girl, because she is finally rejecting men in some way. She said, hey, Jigsaw, I'm not going to do what you told me to do. I'm going to be my own person. And that's powerful and tragic because this whole time, really, we could argue that he manipulated somebody who was very not sane, who was a drug addict, who had self-harm issues, who was in a vulnerable position. Jigsaw took advantage of that. So really, did Jigsaw do to Amanda what he claims he would never do, which is allow somebody to self-destruct?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything
and
you're saying.
And I love that. Like that's what makes this a good movie.
Yeah.
I will be honest with you, despite the fact that I have clearly enjoyed talking about this movie, it's not my favorite movie in the world.
Fair.
But that makes it. Like that whole idea of it being a test for Amanda, how Amanda is reacting to things when she's getting upset, the little quips that she makes, when she's rebelling, the fact that she is not Jigsaw, bitch. You know, all of these things together. Holy crap, is that good?
Yeah, it's a negative, but when he says it, but it's really a positive thing. You know, you shouldn't want to beat Jigsaw. That's not good. You're not gonna last very long.
Nope. So Amanda dies, and Jeff points the gun at Jigsaw. But unfortunately, when he pulls the trigger, it doesn't go off. We just get a little click. A little clicky click.
Click, 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 click.
And Jigsaw asks Jeff to do one final test in order to save his wife. And he says a variant of his traditional line here. He says,
live or die, Jeff. Make our choice.
Make our choice.
I love that. And like Lynn is like dying.
Yes.
Like it's just like blood. Love it.
Yeah, I think
it's like a high, like there is like you have to make every choice exactly right in this moment. Or everyone dies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. So basically, Jeff has to decide between, am I going to forgive Jigsaw, or am I going to kill him with a circular saw?
And Jigsaw's like, look, if you kill me, he doesn't say her thing's going to explode her head into hamburger. He should have maybe. But he's like, look, if you just listen to me, you chill. I can have an ambulance in here in 3 minutes. She will be saved.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Bargaining again.
And then, Jeff, much like Lynn earlier, kind of goes to a whole wall of things to murder Jigsaw with. He picks up a little. I guess he puts it in. I don't know. It's like he loads it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know how saws work.
I don't really either. Just these ones.
So he says, I forgive you.
Yeah.
He puts his hand on his chest.
Hand on his chest.
It's very tender. And then he grabs the saw and does this nice little throat slash.
Jigsaw's like.
Yeah. And this, of course, explodes Lynn's head, and we get a quick cut of photos of all the Saw stuff.
That's part of the that exact one in the director's cut is a little different.
Okay.
But there's essentially the exact same thing in the theatrical.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason I went, oh, they really wrapped this series up well. They brought it all. It's
Look at that.
What is it? Friday the 13th 4, I think, is the one where they show all the footage.
The Crispin Glover one is what you're trying to say.
The Crispin Glover one.
Yeah. So Jeff basically is paying the price for not passing the final test of forgiveness. That his whole test was forgiveness.
Although you can kind of argue that it was actually more Amanda that it's like,
yeah,
it's almost like a video game. If Amanda doesn't shoot, you get the good ending. If Amanda does shoot, you get the bad ending.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, Jeff's almost like a prop more than anything. He's not really the main player, which is, again, adds more to why I like Jeff. It's just such an interesting kind of mishmash of different things going on with everybody. And Jigsaw, he just pushes the button on a tape and sets it down as he's dying. In the director's cut, though, Jeff grabs the tape and he crawls over to Lynn's dead body with no head. And he's like, oh, your beautiful hair. We'll be okay. She has nothing.
Head. Yeah. Oh.
And it's such a fucked up image. I think it does kind of. I don't think the flow of the ending is as well as the theatrical or the uncut. But just that image is just so brutal.
Yeah.
And he just can't accept it. Oh. He's in a different reality. And he plays the and he placed the tape, and it's I told you, if you killed me, you'd never confront the person that took your child. Turns out the Jigsaw stole another kid, stole the daughter, but the daughter is in a safe place.
With limited airspace. Maybe there's a pig in there also.
There's probably a pig in there.
Safe place. Okay, so we end the movie as we always do. Exposition all over the damn
Jeff
place.
Goes.
Yeah. Exposition. I just the whole explanation of everything, and then again all of the stuff that you just said, and done. And then we get the end credits, and we don't get any new metal. What the fuck was that song? What the fuck was that song? I didn't even look it up because I was literally just what the hell?
Yeah, I was watching a digital version and I just went to the end and I was like, oh wait, I skipped the new metal song. And it's I don't even know what genre that song was. Jesus Christ in heaven.
I
think it's trying to remix the main theme into I don't know.
It was awful.
I don't know.
I would have preferred new metal.
Well, yeah, of course. It's the best kind of metal. No, it's not. It's not. I don't even believe that enough to stand by it.
All right, so we have now gone through this whole movie, and you know that I like to rate movies on a scale of 7 thumbs up. So we got to talk about some of our favorite things, and then we got to give this one a rate. So why don't you tell me some of your favorite moments in this movie?
Well, there was Amanda's underwear.
Bathing suit.
it's all little moments. It's all Jigsaw and Amanda and their more quiet moments. I actually really think Shawnee Smith in that scene with the gun at the end is just like, she's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like she should be like unhinged psycho, you know, like if this was a different movie, she's just like, oh, she's crazy, and but she's so sympathetic. There's so many layers to her. And I don't know, just fix me, motherfucker. It's just such a mood that I keep coming back to that. All the Billies, seeing him make Billy. When Jeff, there is one thing I don't like about him. He picks up Billy and he does drop him on the ground. I didn't like to see that.
I'm so sorry.
I didn't like to see that.
I'm so sorry that your bud would do that to your other bud. Well, what about something that you really disliked about this movie? What didn't function well for you?
Well, the end credits, because then it's over. And
Yeah.
I don't get any more Saw 3.
Oh.
No. I would say, just mechanically, I think some of the Saw traps, if you stop to think about them, you're like, wait, what? Like the whole thing with the gun, the way that the box that burns up the pigs, the stuffed pig,
the human oven.
The human oven. I don't
Never
like
forget.
That. I don't like that phrase. I don't know. It's hard because I really like this one. Like like all your criticism, I totally get where you're coming from, and I do agree with a lot of it. But like when I think of the
when you sit and enjoy it, then you're sitting and enjoying
it.
And I would say, so I'm kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum for it that you're on right here, which is that overall I disliked much more of this movie than I liked. There are tons and tons and tons of things that I really dislike about this movie that I think are nonsensical. I get lost in it sometimes. I am too confused. I want it to be more simplistic. I don't want to navigate with Jeff on this journey that he's going on, despite the fact that I like Jeff. That said, this has some of my all-time favorite Saw traps. We get pig guts. We get popsicle lady. We get weird twisty skin thing. I struggle with a lot of it, but I like a lot of it. And I have fun while I'm watching it, even though I'm struggling with it. And I think that Amanda's story arc redeems this entire movie. So I guess that kind of leads us into our thumb ratings. So I figure before we do those, let's give a refresher of what we rated our previous films.
Okay.
For Saw 1, you rated it a 5 out of 7 thumbs up, and I rated it a 6. And then for Saw 2, we both ended up at a 4 out of 7 thumbs up. You were a hesitant 4. You were leaning more towards the 3, peppered in maybe a little bit. How are you feeling about Saw 3?
I want to play a game, Paley and Cookie. You consume others' work and critique it without ever critiquing your own. The lives of these movies sit in judgment of your 7 thumbs. Now it is your own lives that sit in judgment. How many thumbs will you be willing to give to escape your trap? The choice is yours.
I mean, I would say somewhere around a 6. Like, I really, really like this. This is by far my favorite one. I would say without this one, I would have never come back to Saw and kind of, you know, refound a love for it in recent years.
The perfect end to the trilogy, some might say.
Saw 3 is the perfect end to the Saw trilogy. I mean, it's kind of true.
Yeah. Not wrong. I think that I would put this right around where I would put Saw 2. So I think I'm going to go with a 4 again. Okay. I like them both for different reasons. So I like that this one, again, is not so many characters that I'm getting lost in, but I'm getting lost in other ways. I'm getting lost as I'm navigating around a big building, going into different rooms, getting introduced to other people who are a part of the traps but not in the game. And, you know, so to me, it's different dislikes and it's different likes, but both movies I really have a fun time watching. So I think I will put this one at a 4. And I think those are very, I hate to say I could have probably guessed this, but I could have probably guessed this. Regardless, I am so happy that we decided to watch this. I'm so happy that we are continuing this series. And I am so happy that I get to talk about it with Cookie, because you are so knowledgeable about this stuff. And I want to give you just a moment to, say hellos or shout anything out that you want to, or tell people about things that they can find, or, where they can go to the dick sucking factory that we work at. I'm sure the people want to know about that.
Not giving you the address of the dick sucking
factory. Don't
dox
factory.
Us. There's 3 in this town, so you'll never figure out which one it is.
Only.
That I know of.
Yes.
The Saw movies are good. Check those out. Specifically Saw 3. That Kaylee chick has a good YouTube channel. Watch that Kevin Costner Western that came out, the Chapter 1.
Oh, yeah?
Horizon. I like that one. And Jeff is in it for like 30 seconds.
You are in love with Jeff. I think you might like Jeff more than you like Billy. You don't. I know. I know.
Billy, if you're watching, that's not true. It's slander. I'll see you when I get home.
So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you again, Cookie, for joining me. This has been absolutely wonderful. And we will see you guys soon for another installment of the Saw franchise series.
Moral of the story is Jeff didn't learn shit.
Yeah.